applied for PA school, that was in 2019, so during the 2019 cycle. So the interviews, they kind of like, they range. I know they can start in August, and then they go all the way up until like January. So they can range all like between that time. I did get interviews like within that time range, and then I do think that some schools can interview earlier. It depends on when they start. So I wouldn't fret too much. I would say one of the most nerve-wracking parts about getting about the interview process is that waiting to get one. Like waiting to get one was like very like nervous or nerve-wracking, because when you wait to get an interview, you just like, you don't know if you're gonna get one, and then you're like, oh, freaking out a little bit, like, do they like my application or whatnot? Am I gonna get at least one interview to like prove myself that I could go to this PA school and whatnot? So I actually was a unique case. I did apply early, so that's one thing I did recommend that you do, is apply early. So I was interviewed also early. I was interviewed in early September. So early September was my first interview. And I would say I'm a unique case because that was my only interview. I was invited to multiple interviews after. However, the first interview was my top choice school to get into. So I ended up interviewing with them first, and then I got accepted into that school later, a few days later. So basically, so what I did in my interview, so I had my application. So one thing to know about your interview is that if you got an interview, that means that they like your application enough. There's no need to like prove yourself and be like, oh well, I don't feel like this is enough, or my GPA is not enough, and this person next to me might have a higher GPA than mine, or they might have a higher GRE score than mine. At this point, if you're all together for an interview, that means that they like your application. They like who you are. They just want to see, are you the same person in paper, and do you fit like with what their program is about. One thing I definitely did is I asked around. I asked to see I asked people like what do they recommend I do for the interview, whatnot, and asked for tips. Like if you know anybody that's been in PA school or anything, or been to PA school, that's what I've done. So I've asked. I know someone that actually went to the PA school there, so I asked him a couple of questions of what he recommends that I look into. So if you know anybody that's in PA school, that could be a plus, that you can ask them any questions that you have in regards to like the PA school interview process, or what to expect, or what to recommend, or whatnot. And then another thing that I did for sure is that I did like a lot of practice and Googled some questions. So you can go ahead and Google some PA school interview questions, some common ones, and I had people practice with me. I would say that is definitely very important. You need to practice how you're going to answer these questions. Do not just expect that it'll just come naturally to you. Some of it will come naturally, but you also need to know that at least be prepared. You cannot just come unprepared. You have to be at least prepared to some extent. So so some of my interview, I definitely say was natural, but I was also like prepared, and I've also practiced interview questions before then. And then another thing that I did for my PA school interview is I looked up anything type of information I can find out as far as like the interview styles. Important to know like what interview styles your school does, so you can look up like what is the best way to respond, or what kind of thing that they were looking for in those interview styles. And then also know your school's mission statement. That's important, because when you know your school's mission statement, you can know what kind of student that school is looking for, because it could be possible that you may not, or you may fit what they're looking for in an applicant, but they are definitely going to be looking for a specific person for that program that best fits for the program that they have. So definitely take a look at their mission statement. Take a look at the school that you're interviewing for. You do not want to go to an interview and you don't know like information about the school, and they'll ask you, for example, why my school? And then you can't answer it. So definitely know what type of school that you're interviewing for. They don't want somebody that wants to go to that doesn't even want to go to the program. Why would they offer you a seat if you like don't know anything about the school? So stuff like that. Just make sure that you know what that school is offering, what kind of students that they're looking for. Know their mission statement. and things like that. So just be very prepared for your interview. You do not have to be rehearsed. I emphasize again, you do not have to be rehearsed for your interview, but just be prepared for your interview. The night before, I would say, like, when I was in the interview process, it was very like nerve-wracking. But I would say just kind of like be yourself, but also you need to think, my mind, I definitely thought, okay, they're looking for someone that can be a future provider. So what would like a mature provider like respond to some of these questions? So they don't want anybody that's not, someone that's not going to be patient-centered, and someone that is not going to be a provider that basically, so a provider that doesn't work well with people, because as a PA you need to be able to work well with people. So I do think that they definitely are looking for somebody that kind of fits that bill as a physician assistant. And then also note, if you want to go to PA school, and then you're also thinking about medical school as well, I mean, that's fine, but one thing that they're also looking for, the PA schools are not looking for that. They're really looking for people that want to be PAs, and that's the reason why they're applying. Or they're not looking for somebody that as soon as they get a medical school offer, then they'll just reject the PA school offer. Those are basically some of my tips for the interview process.
My interview process was,
I believe it was like 2 days. We had, for my interview, we had like a tour, and then we also had, like some written practice, or not written practice, but we actually had some, we had like a written interview, we had like a kind of like a discussion style interview, and then we also had individual interview. So there was like 3 parts to my interview. I would say that you just have to pretty much try your best on all of them. If you don't get accepted into your school of choice, then maybe like you might find another school. Maybe you might get in next year. During my interview process, I was very nervous. So my mom, she said that I was talking in my sleep. I don't remember it, but she said that I was, but probably because I was like really nervous. And then also another thing, a tip that I got from a PA student while I was during the interview, do not focus on studying once you're there. So once you're there, just try to be in the moment. Don't focus on like studying and practicing questions. At that point, once you get to the interview, you just need to focus on your interview, and then know that you've practiced enough and feel confident in your ability that you practiced enough. And then just focus on your interview and just relax, because if you're too nervous, then they won't get to kind of like know what you're like, and that's all they're there for, just to see what kind of person you are and see like what you're like and whatnot. So just like be true to yourself. These are my experiences for my PA school interview. So my case is not like everybody else. I did one thing that I definitely did, which is like what you're doing now for PA school interviews, is that I watch a lot of YouTube videos too, to prep for PA school interviews, and like people that experienced or going to PA school, and kind of like try to figure out like different tips and different things that I should focus on. So this is definitely a good step that you're looking at this video. If you like to get more videos like this, or you like these videos, feel free to subscribe. So until then, we'll see you next time.